Logan Webb. Welcome in, Lamont Wade Jr. Honored to have my guest on today, Kyle Harrison. Let's bring a friend of mine in, Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants, KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, the sports leader.
Now the pitch on the way, swung on, a drive into deep center field. Going way back there is Dean. Still going back, and it's gone. So an impressive home run by Encarnacion, and the Giants ahead 5-4.
All right, welcome into the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a Saturday afternoon with Bill Lasky on an overcast, gloomy day here in Northern California. But again, a sunny day in Glendale, Arizona, where the San Francisco Giants traveled to Camelback Ranch to play the L.A. Dodgers. And sure enough, the L.A. Dodgers pulled it out in the bottom of the eighth with a home run to win the game 6-5. 5 runs, 9 hits for the Giants, 6 runs, 7 hits. No errors for the Dodgers. But a lot of things happened today. Of course, traveling over to Glendale, Bob Melvin did not take a lot of his starters. Jung-Hoo Lee was there, Luis Matos, Encarnacion, Casey Schmidt, David Villar. A lot of the guys that are trying to make the club out of spring training, and a few of them had good games, so especially Encarnacion, who hit a 2-run home run in the 7th inning to take the lead for the Giants. But the Giants could not hold that lead. Really some good pitching right out of the block with Carson Seymour. Of course, Carson Seymour pitched most of the year last year in AAA, the big right-hander from Kansas State. Really threw the ball well, 6 up, 6 down. Got drilled with a line ball right off his thigh. A few minutes to check it out, but he was not coming out of the game. He threw 20 pitches, 13 of them for strikes. 6 up, 6 down, like I said, with all ground ball outs. Really, really maintain the order against the L.A. Dodgers as Taylor, Freeman, Hernandez, Outman, and Barnes all starting for the L.A. Dodgers. After that, Tristan Beck came in, gave up a walk and a double for their first run for the Dodgers. Mason Black threw 2 innings, gave up a home run to Kim. Ha-Sing Kim, of course, a teammate of Jung-Hoo Lee back in Korea's 26-year-old playing shortstop for the Dodgers, hit a ball out to left field. And as I said, it was pretty windy there in Glendale today, and it ended up carrying out to left field. If you had a chance, MLB Network had the game on TV. We got to watch the young Giants try to take care of the Dodgers today. And, of course, if you did what I did, you put on John Miller and Javi Lopez to listen to it. But MLB Network did a nice job. We got to finally see the Giants live. And really, when the game started, it was pretty good. It was a good game. And then, like I said, Mason Black giving up that home run. Trevor McDonald struggled. He went out there, tried to go 2 innings, only went an inning and a third, giving up 3 earned runs. He also gave a bomb up, a home run to Freddie Freeman. Joey Lucchesi, a left-hander that's been trying to see if he gets an opportunity to come out of the bullpen, came in with bases loaded, got the first pop-up, and then DePaula, a utility player, ends up taking an 0-2 pitch out of the ballpark, or a base hit, I should say, and it ended up tying the game up. And sure enough, in the bottom of the 8th inning, a home run ball off of Justin Garza and Aaron Bracho, another good young player. Boy, he hit the ball real well out to left center field for the game-winning home run. On the opposite side, the offensive side, as I said, the first inning, Grant McCray gets a hit by a pitch, going stolen base. Jung-Hoo Lee gets a nice double to right center field. The Giants take the lead. In the 3rd inning, a double by Kristen Koss, a player we'll talk about in a minute. He had a nice double, a base hit by Luis Matos drives him in. And then in the 6th inning, the Giants scored again. Casey Schmidt hitting a ball in the left center field. David Villar hitting the first pitch he saw for a base hit for 2 runs in the 6th inning. And then in the 7th inning, Encarnacion hits the home run, and that was really the scoring. But it all happened in the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning. A lot of scoring when the pitching staffs went back into the minor leagues, and a lot of guys getting that look-see as 6 pitchers for the San Francisco Giants pitched for the orange and black, Seymour, Beck, Black, McDonald, Lucchese, and Garza. And then the opposite side, Justin Verlander threw in Papago today. His turn was today. Yesterday, the Giants really hit the ball well in Scottsdale. They ended up beating the Milwaukee Brewers 9-2. Logan Webb threw 3 innings, giving up 3 hits, 1 solo home run in his last inning of work. Of course, Kyle Harrison, first time he saw some action. He goes 2 innings, no hits, 3 strikeouts. Ryan Walker had an inning after him, going 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Hayden Birdsong went 2 innings, giving up 2 hits, 3 punch-outs. And Randy Rodriguez throwing 1 inning, only give up 1 earned run. Home runs yesterday were flying out of Scottsdale. Chapman, Flores, Wade Jr., and Yastrzemski. Good game all around today, a good battle. This is what Bob Melvin wants to see. He wants to see these young kids trying to make this 25-man roster. And he saw some good play from Casey Schmidt, David VR with a key hit. And when you start looking at defense, and this is what I want to look at, in what can help the Giants in a utility player, and Kristen Koss, a player that is from Riverside, California. He went to UC Irvine. He's 27 years old. Of course, last year he played in Richmond and Sacramento. 54 games, 171 at-bats. Had 5 home runs, hit 257, 5 stolen bases. Boy, his glove was working today with some nice plays at shortstop from the backhand, as well as coming in on the ball and also going to his left. And just some real fast action, quick hands, and great reaction from Koss playing shortstop. Today I got a couple great interviews. Oscar Bernard. Oscar Bernard is the 3rd hitting coach the San Francisco Giants, Bob Melvin and Buster Posey, picked up from the San Diego Padres. Oscar was with the Padres for 7 years. He was under the tutelage of Bob Melvin when he was managing there, and got to talk to Oscar this week. And we talked a lot about him coming over here, learning with Pat Burrell, as well as Damon Miner, another new hitting coach, gets to learn. And we really kind of talk about what he is going to do to help the Latin players, a Spanish-speaking coach that really they needed. Of course, Pat Burrell and Damon Miner are trying to teach some of the philosophies they want, and Oscar Bernard also is learning, so I had a nice chat with him. And then Max Stassy, you saw him play today, had a bad day at the plate, 0 for 3 with 3 punch-outs. A veteran player that is trying to make the backup role for Patrick Bailey. And, you start looking at what he has done in his big league career. He got drafted by the Oakland A's, played with the Houston Astros, and then, of course, his 3 years with the Angels really complimented a lot of things he did in the catching position. Injury last year, coming back this year, but a veteran presence, and also one of those guys that really can control the pitching staff. So we'll have a nice conversation with him this week also, and we'll get to hear that later in the show. 808 KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines, 808-5627. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Extra Innings. More coming up as we take a quick break right now here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Sauer looking for the strikeout, I'm sure. There's a swing and a smash into deep right, going back as Hernandez. He spins one way, turns back the other, and the ball goes back the first way that he had gone. Bounces up against the wall. Coming in to score is McRae, and Lee goes into second with a double.
All right, back on the extra inning post-game show with Bill Lasky. John Miller calling a double from Jung-Hoo Lee in that first inning. A curveball, 1-1. Really hit a bullet out there, and we talked earlier about how windy it was in Glendale, Arizona, and some of the balls kind of shifted. Later in the game, Meckler had to come all the way from center field to catch a ball in the left center. But these are great things to choose and work on. I mean, this is what they want to do because you look at what players have to do during the game and how the elements of the game changes from a windy day to moving in on a ball, going to the left during the right. And today was like that. And just like what John said, Hernandez went back on the ball and then spun around. And if he would have just stayed there, he would have caught it, but he didn't. And Jung-Hoo Lee ends up getting a double. Today, really, we got to see the Giants on MLB Network Live. That was really fun to watch. And one of the things that we talked about last weekend was the ABS, the automated ball and strike issue that they're trying to figure out if it's going to be used in Major League Baseball. Each team gets 2 of them. But if you keep getting them right, you keep getting more. And today the Giants had 2 of them. They went 0 for 2. Where the Dodgers used 5 of them, and all of them worked, and a couple of them were on punch-outs. And what they do, the hitter will tap his helmet, and same thing with a catcher, and then they'll take a quick time. They'll take a look at the board, and sure enough, a computer zone comes up, and they show where the pitch is. Pretty cool. I just don't know if it's ready for big leagues yet. Spring training, there's a lot of 50-50. A lot of players like it. A lot of players don't. They like just the call by the home plate umpire today. It was really the first time we got to see it with the Giants on the MLB Network. It was pretty different. 12,340 were at the game in Glendale. A good crowd by the Dodgers. Giants end up losing 6-5, but going back to the ABS, it's just different because you see the call by the home plate umpire. You see his call as the human element of the pitch. The ABS is really what we see on the computer. We see it on all type of devices, and now they're going to try to implement it. Of course, in AAA, they do it all the time, and it's just different a strike zone. But to pinch a pitch, to win a strike, to get ahead, I mean, it's great for a pitcher-catcher, battery mate. The hitter sometimes thinks it's a ball, and a couple times today, Meckler being one ball right on the outside corner for strike 3, and those are the ones that hurt you. But in a way, they're trying to make the game better. I'd love to hear you, Giants fans, if you watched the game or you're watching the ABS system, to see if you like it, to see how you engage it during the game, and if you think the Major League Baseball is ready for it. I really think they're just trying to make the game correct. We saw it with videos on bases. We see it on replay. And now the ABS is going to try to fix the strike zone. And I think sometimes we catch it. We catch it during the season where umpires miss the pitch. Sometimes the ball's right there and they miss the pitch. And umpires are human. This is one of the things that for over 100 years, baseball has always been the human element of the umpire. Today, the Giants lost, like I said, 6-5 in Glendale. They played at Camelback Ranch. Tomorrow, they're back in Scottsdale. The LA Angels are coming over. Jose Soriano, a right-hander, 26 years old, threw 22 games for the Angels last year, 6-7 with a 3.42 earned run average. It was 113 innings pitched and 97 strikeouts. A hard thrower, but he also walked 45. Tomorrow, the Giants are throwing a cluster of pitchers. Robbie Reagan, his second start of the year. He had a really nice 2-inning stint his first time out, punching out a couple guys, no hits. After him, we're going to see Duvall. We're also going to see Rogers. Trevino, which is an interesting right-hand pitcher, coming over on a free agent pickup. Of course, Trevino had a lot of success with the Oakland A's. So Robbie Ray on the hill tomorrow, 12:05 is that first pitch right here on KNBR. Next weekend, we're back to normal time, and that's changeover on Sunday. Everybody loves that. I do too. We get back on the same time with Arizona. The games now will go back to 1 o'clock, and that'll happen on Sunday. Next week, the Giants will be playing the Kansas City Royals on Saturday, and that will be right here. 12:05 start, and then on Sunday, daylight savings time, and the Giants will be playing the Chicago Cubs. So 2 more games coming up, and today, as everybody knows, today is March 1st. That's right, the calendar has changed, and now we're counting down to March 27th. That's right, 26 more days till opening day, and I love opening day. It's a heartbeat that every player goes through. Doesn't even matter about players, coaches, managers. It's an exciting time. The Giants do travel to Cincinnati for that opener for the Cincinnati Reds, and of course Logan Webb is scheduled to start that game, and exciting times right here for the orange and black. 808 KNBR, if you want to get on the phone lines. We're going to take a quick break, come back with more. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Extra Innings. We'll be right back.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
The pitch. Swing, a looping liner over the middle. Base hit into center field. Came back with a fastball that time, and he kind of shortened up in his swing. It looked like he had a two-strike approach.
It certainly did.
Coming in to score is Cost, 2-0 Giants.
All right, welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a Saturday afternoon here in Northern California. Giants lose in Glendale at Camelback Ranch 6-5 against the L.A. Dodgers. Hopefully you got a chance to take a look at MLB Network. The game was on there, and I'm sure you did what I did, listen to John and Javi call the game. A lot of good information from them. And when you look around what jobs could be open for the San Francisco Giants in 2025, you look around what the starting nine will be, and most likely Elliot Ramos will be in left. Jung-Ho Lee will be center. Mike Yastrzemski will be in right field. And that brings up a good point about Luis Matos could possibly be that fourth outfielder. Of course, Luciano is getting an opportunity to play left field. I just don't feel that they're comfortable putting him at the big league level. I see him playing more in Sacramento. Then you got to look at the infield here, and of course the left side is so good with Matt Chapman and Willie Adames. Then you got to look on the right-hand side, and you have Tyler Fitzgerald. Now, Casey Schmidt is also getting some opportunities to play second base, shortstop, and third. And then you also have a couple other names that I'd love to talk about. And the first one's going to be Brett Wisely. Where does he fit in as a left-hand hitter? It's a possibility that he has an opportunity. You look over to first base, and that's my question mark for the year. Lamont Wade Jr. and Wilmer Flores is going to take those positions and switch off. Both of them hit a home run yesterday. That's a good sign right there. Then you look at the catching position. Of course, Patrick Bailey will be your starting catcher, and now you're going to have a couple opportunities. Who could fit in? Murphy is now injured. He is most likely going to start the season on the IL. That opens up a position of Sam Huff, who came over from the Texas Rangers. And I have an interview with him, Max Stassy, a veteran catcher. So a lot of internal things going on. A couple surprises might even affect it. Jeff Lamb's another guy that the Giants picked up that could fit in as a possible pinch hitter. He also plays first and third. And, of course, the biggest question of all is what are they going to do with the young phenom? That's going to be the big question as that moves forward. 808 KNBR is the caller screener. I got a couple people here, so let's get on the phones. Let's go to Mike in San Francisco. Mike, you're on Extra Innings with Bill Lasky. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year, Bill. Always a pleasure, and just glad to get on with you here this baseball season.
Well, I appreciate it, Mike, and you kind of heard me talk about all the positions and some of the windows that could open up, and, you know, Bryce Aldrich is the name, and everybody's looking at him as the 20-year-old phenom. I'd like to hear your thoughts on a player of that caliber, not having big league experience, but, boy, he sure can swing the bat. How do you like him as a young player possibly making the team?
As a young player, I've seen him not miss twice, you know, in the Barry Bonds sense of not missing a pitch twice. I understand he had a bad day a couple days ago, but I wouldn't bank on that. I know he's working with JT Snow at first base, and there's nobody I'd rather see him working with. So
yeah,
Bryce,
JT was down there the past week, said a lot of great things about him, the character of him, and how he just absorbs everything players and coaches are telling him. JT's down there. Of course, Ron Wodos had been working with him last year also when he got to AAA. It's a big question mark for a young kid to jump into the big leagues. Of course, when you look at Will Clark hit a home run in every position in big leagues, AAA, AA, and A ball, his first at bat. And of course, Eldridge is going to be that kind of guy. A lot of pressure for a young kid. That's why I think possibly to play defense, he'll go down to AAA to start.
You know, you're right, and I agree with that. I just wanted to give him and still do, want to give him the opportunity to to get it done in the spring. But with JT already saying that he's going down to Sacramento with him.
Well, no, I think JT loves the character of him. I'm saying that was my opinion on him going to AAA. JT Snow never said anything like that. He just said that, here's a guy learning the position. And I think all the coaches are probably saying, get him to AAA to start. He's still 20 years old. Get him to play first base, learn the position, learn where to throw the ball, learn how to, know your defensive cuts and things of that. And that's my opinion. My opinion is I think that's where he'll start.
Excuse me. I must have misheard that statement. But I'd like to share what Gerard's home run today felt like. It felt like, your first hole on the golf course and just a nice, easy swing right over the fence.
Straightaway center field. Wasn't it nice to watch a game on TV today, Mike?
Absolutely. I kind of have to give a little credit where credit's due on that today.
Yeah, Encarnacion hit a changeup 1-1 straightaway center field, as John Miller called it, 113 miles per hour off his bat. It looks like Bob Melvin's either going to play him at first base or DH. It looks like that's a position that he might be in the position of the lineup to have a little more power in the middle of the lineup. What do you think of him as being the everyday DH?
As far as like going into the season, I thought he was our favorite for everyday DH, just because the power was there and not chasing is like instituted in his mind. I don't think he chases much. He might get struck out on something low in the way, but I think he stays within himself, and kid would be a really good player for us this year at that position.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He's probably going to staple at the DH position. I just don't see him on the defensive side at first base or left field. They're trying, and I'm sure they're going to give him more looks. Mike, what's your biggest surprise so far with the Giants in spring training? Is there anybody that comes to mind where you're like, wow, this guy's really playing well, or this pitcher's throwing well?
I got two. Luis Matos looks like he's been training on those pythons with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he got a little bigger, didn't he? He sure looked good today.
Yeah, he did. I mean, like, noticeably. And Carson Seymour, I hadn't watched him, but first impression, man, he's a stud. He's a stud.
Yeah, I was very impressed with him. I saw some numbers last year, watched a little bit about him last year. This is the size of him and the bulk he has at 26 years old. The compliment today was throwing strikes, 20 pitches, 13 for strikes, and he got, when you're looking at 6 ground ball outs, and of course the first 5 hitters were all their top line hitters for the everyday Dodgers, and very impressed in how he kept his composure.
Thanks, Bill. Look forward to spending the season with you. Have a nice
Mike,
day.
thanks for the call. It's always great talking Giants baseball. Let's go out to Hayward and talk to Rick. Rick, you're on Extra Innings on a Saturday here in the Bay Area.
Hey, Bill, how's it going today?
Good. First time we got to see the Giants, and of course the younger players came over to place the Dodgers, and you know what? It was interesting to watching some of these guys. The Casey Schmidt, who's trying to make this team as a utility player, had a nice at bat for the double, got a little infield hit when Kim juggled the ball, and the other Kim got in there, Jung-Hoo Lee got in there sliding in, but exciting baseball. Just loved the spring training look they threw out there today.
Yeah, when they go on these road trips, they don't bring very many of the regulars along. It was kind of a little disappointing. I kind of wanted to see Verlander out there, but I get what Melvin's trying to do. He's trying to make sure that the younger players get some face time too, and that usually happens when they go to Surprise or to Goodyear or to Camelback. And
most of the time, Rick, they usually do it both ways. When the traveling team comes into Scottsdale, you usually don't see a full lineup. And so we get into the third week of March before they break, and then all the active players will be playing daily, getting 3 at-bats. I was very, very pleased to see the Giants hitters yesterday go against the Brewers and hit 4 home runs. Want to see a little bit more of that, don't you?
Oh, of course, yes. I don't think that translates really good to to California or to Oracle Park. I mean, I love how people see 4 home runs and they get all excited thinking, oh, yeah, that's coming here. You know, the Giants only hit 77 home runs last year at Oracle Park, and only 136 were actually hit at the park last year. So to say that, it's the worst regular ballpark for baseball over the last 2 years. And it's kind of weird because, I mean, they had to bring in the fences a little bit for the bullpens. And then if you've ever walked down the port walk down right field, you notice that they put up plexiglass on every port walk hole so the wind doesn't kick through there in right field like it used to. And there's still the numbers are way down, especially for home runs. So that's not why I called, but that just.
But let me throw this to you, Rick. You remember in COVID where they put the boards up in right field and the ball wasn't carrying much at all? You remember that? And if they're putting plastic, that's probably doing the same.
It's still there. The plexiglass is surrounding the outside port walk holes. If you walk down the port walk, you can see, other than when you enter into that area where you can look and watch the game for free, every port walk has a cover on it now with plexiglass. I mean,
it's interesting.
They've tried to knock that. Well, it's mainly because they've turned that whole area out there into the Gothic Club. And so, you know, in lieu of just making it a walkthrough for guys that were changing scores out there, it's now a bar and high price eatery. So all that's been closed up. And so the wind doesn't.
It really does affect the field if you think about it. I mean, the balls usually flew out to right field, and that air out there does matter on the field. And now they cut that off, so it does eliminate a lot of the wind from the field. Again, it's just so difficult to play right field. Rick, you and I've talked about it, playing off the wall, playing it off the bricks. That's one position, right field, where I tip my hat to Hunter Pence. He was one of the best ones out there, and now Yaz, of course, is probably your best outfielder to play right field, and he plays it very well. And he's got a strong arm in case that ball does go over his head in that corner. Just interesting playing right field, isn't it?
Yeah, well, my seats are in center, left center. And I sit in row 1 out in the bleachers. And believe me, it's still like candlestick out there from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And if you're ever out there, come out and visit. It's freezing out there.
But it does flow a little bit out there, too, no question. But I know what you want to talk about, and I kind of threw the starting 9 out there, and I know your question is going to be, who's going to be on the bench? And I kind of threw some names out there. Oh, what's your first thoughts on bench players? Who do you think will be some of these utility players they pick up?
Well, I think a lot has to do with options and who has them and who doesn't. And I think that's where, if a player's marginally about the same, the player without options is going to get the first try. And I think that's Encarnacion, the DH. And
there's only 4 right now. You know that, right?
Ramos,
I know Encarnacion, Huff, and then VR. And I think if you're looking at those 4, probably VR is going to be the first one that'll be either picked up off waivers. He'll go back to AAA. I think right now when you're looking at the backup catcher, you're not going to see Murphy, and Sam Huff is on the roster. Max Stassy is going to really have to do something. And today, he just couldn't pick up the fastball, punched out 3 times.
Yeah, I wasn't too hot on them picking up Stassy, but I understood why. It's just, Huff is what they picked him up off the waivers too, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, they picked him up, had to put him on the roster, and he's been playing pretty well. I had him on for an interview, a real young kid, very energetic, listening, wanting to learn more. Did well with the Rangers a few times up, played pretty well at Round Rock last year in AAA, and he's a catcher that I think could fit the mold as a backup. If Bob Melvin wants to go with more of a veteran leader, guy that can, go in and talk to the pitchers, that's probably going to be Stassy. But still, 3 weeks left. They got a lot to prove.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this time of year, eight games in, you can't make very many assumptions or determination.
That's all speculation.
Than,
it's kind of good talking points, and I think that's what's great when you talk to Giants fans and you analyze what they have and what they could get. And again, it's always at the end of spring training. You can pick up some players off the waiver wire too, and other teams are in that same position with the Giants. But let me throw you a name right here. Jeff Lamb, of course, played with the Diamondbacks, has been getting some opportunity. Any kind of thoughts on him?
You mean Jake Lamb, not Jeff Lamb.
Is it Jake Lamb? I'm sorry, I might have said that wrong.
Jake Lamb, yeah. He hurt his shoulder about, I think it was 5 years ago, 2018. Before he hurt his shoulder, he was awesome. Mm-hmm. After he's hurt his shoulder, he's a shell of his. Yeah, he struggles, and I don't know if he's going to make the team. If he does make the team, obviously it would be in that backup role at second, short, third, or wherever he could play.
He's more of a first baseman. That's what Jake Lamb is, and a pinch hitter. He could be pinch hitter. He's going to have to really tear the cover off the ball if he's going to make it as a pinch hitter. I think they would probably go with a younger player to give them opportunities.
Well, you think about it. Last year, Wisely had a great. Wisely did really good, and he's a shortstop. He can play second base, and that's what they need. I mean, Wilmer can play third on a pinch if he had to. He plays first.
Right.
You can't. You got to look at the roster. I think the backups are going to be Matos. They're going to be Huff. They're going to be Wisely, and they're going to be Encarnacion. Those four right there. Eldridge.
Casey Schmidt. I still think Casey Schmidt. You got Tyler Fitzgerald. Those two guys will be battling it out. I really think Bob Melvin has something with Casey Schmidt. He's getting a lot of opportunities. Hit a nice ball today for a double. He can play at multiple positions too. He played third today. He's got that rocket arm. I still think Casey Schmidt's got a good chance of making this team, and Fitzgerald's finally getting in there and play second base. I want to see him work with Adames a little more.
I totally agree with you. I think either or, Schmidt or Fitzgerald, one of those two is going to be the starter. And to me, after the way that Casey played in September last year, I think he has a better shot of playing second base. But I know everybody's hooked on this number that Fitzgerald had last year when he hit the 11 home runs in 12 games or whatever. Well, it was like 11 home runs in 17 games, but. Anyways, Bryce Eldridge, I got to get this off my shoulder, my head here. He's only played, I think it's like 20 games in AA and 20 games in AAA. Mm-hmm. All the rest of his time last year was in Single A, high or low. Mm-hmm. For the life of me, I thought I heard Ron Woda say they were going to put him down at Richmond this year.
You know what? That has been talked about, and it's true. They have talked about him starting in Richmond instead of starting in Sacramento, and I think that's all going to be to get him more of a base, get him down in a base, get him to play a little bit more. I'd rather see him stay in Sacramento, but you know what? The Giants have seen a forecast on him. I don't believe he'll make the big league team coming out of spring training. No. There's got to be opportunity for him to play in AAA and maybe back to AA. But, you and I both have seen guys jump from AA right to the big leagues. Is this going to be how his defense plays out? I think that's going to be really the maturity of this young kid.
Yeah, I agree there. And the reason I mentioned Richmond is because okay, it's on the East Coast, and you don't have eyes on him every day going, oh, look what he did today, and look how bad it weighed, or it's just being Sacramento is only 100 miles away. People look at that, and it gives that false narrative, basically. I don't want Wade. Right.
I want to see how he finishes up in spring training. They're starting to get him some pinch hits, not coming through, striking, missed the ball 3 times the other day in a pinch hit. A lot of stress and pressure. He's trying to impress everybody that he can play at the big league level. It's so difficult to pinch hit, and we hear Kipe talking about it. Back in the 80s, he was one of the best. All he says is try to make contact. That's all pinch hitters try to do. Don't try to go up there and yank them, because most of the time, as a pitcher, in my mind, I'm not going to throw you that cookie fastball. I'm going to either throw you breaking balls and then maybe elevate a fastball. You're sitting on the bench the whole game. You're going to look for that fastball, and most of the time you're not going to get it. But, Rick, another great conversation with you, my friend. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time today.
Hey, good to talk with you, Bill, and we'll do it again next week.
Excellent. Appreciate your time. Let's take a quick break. Got a couple more calls on hold. Don't go anywhere. Take a quick break right here. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Lasky. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
The pitch comes in. Swing and a miss. He struck it out. The high, hard one. 95 or 94 miles an hour anyway. I might round it off to 95 because it kind of exploded up in the zone, and Hernandez started to go, and then his swing just broke down right in the middle.
All right, back on the Extra Inning postgame show with Bill Lasky on a Saturday afternoon. Giants lose in Glendale, Arizona, 6-5 to the LA Dodgers. Giants are now 4-3 in the Cactus League, and the Dodgers are now 4-6. Just happened, just came across the wire. The San Francisco 49ers have traded Deebo Samuels to the Washington Commanders for a fifth-round pick in the 2025 draft. So some interesting news right there. Deebo Samuel is now a Washington Commander. Boy, oh boy, it's going to get hot and heavy here as the NFL trade market starts up, and right before, of course, the draft coming up. All right, Giants are, again, tomorrow. They are going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona against the L.A. Angels. You hear first pitch right here. Javi Lopez is in the booth with John Miller. Robbie Ray will be on the hill tomorrow. Through 2 innings the other day, through 2 innings, 3 strikeouts, looked really good. Working on him a nice changeup. You're going to have Duvall, Rogers, and Trevino also behind him getting in some work. 808 KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines. That's 808-5627. Let's go to Palo Alto and talk to Bruce. Bruce, you're on with Bill Lasky this afternoon. How are you?
Good. Hey, Bill, can you hear me okay?
I got you good.
Okay. Couple of different things. I think I want to get your take on this. The Giants have a lot of off days, as do other teams, starting the season. They've got a lot of young arms that they see starting, of course. And, I'm thinking of Birdsong. 2 guys are going to not make the rotation between Birdsong, Roop, and Harrison. So I'm hoping that they send 2 of those fellows down, keep Wisely and Schmidt up during that first month, and then decide when they need a 5th starter. And they use one of those 3, by the way, in long relief. Then they need a 5th starter. They then make that decision, and I hope they make the decision between Wisely and Schmidt based on one thing, not on whether one's left-handed and one's right-handed and they could use a left-handed bat, that they make the decision on who's the better player. The better player both from a power perspective, a bat-on-ball perspective, and a fielding perspective. And you may guess where I'm leaning. I think it's going to turn out that it'll be Casey Schmidt. Because when you look at Brett Wisely, last year when he came up, he did real well with the bat, no question about it, but he tailed off dramatically. And on the flip side, when Schmidt was up, and they kept bringing him up and down, the typical Zaidi roller coaster revolving door, he didn't adjust all that well with it. But then when he came up in late August and through September, he showed power. I think he had 5 or 6 home runs during that span of time. He's always looked good in the field. So anyway, I hope that's what happens.
I agree with you, Bruce, because Casey Schmidt needs to play. He's not a guy that's going to sit on the bench as a pinch hitter. Brett Wisely did pinch hit a few times. Both of those guys are definitely in the mix. I really want to see how Tyler Fitzgerald fits in at second base. That's going to be my big question mark moving forward here in the next 3 weeks. Brett Wiley's a contact guy. He's going to be in the bottom of the lineup, get a base hit there, opposite field. Casey Schmidt's got some power. That's what I like about Casey Schmidt. He can drive the ball today, get a nice double. The arm on him to play at third base, shortstop, second base intrigues me. But you know what? When you got Adames and Chapman playing 150 to 155 games, there's not going to be much turn there to get a guy to back them up. So I am intrigued, just like you are, on what they're going to do here in the backup position at second base. It's a good question mark, and I think both Wisely and Schmidt are both in that window of opportunity.
Well, let's talk about 2 other question marks. You guys on the previous call did a great job about a question mark on Eldridge and his defense. I mean, I think that's the big question, and he needs that year at whatever level or levels he plays to work that out, and I'm glad he's working with JT Snow now. But the 2 other question marks for me are Patrick Bailey's bat and his physical health as the season progresses. We all know what's transpired the last two halves of the last two seasons. He had 4 hits in August of last year. I mean, that's just
right
not
there
going to
with
cut
you.
it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that last year, Bruce. We saw a big struggle there, and when you're in a slump, next thing you know, you're changing swing path, you're reaching for some pitches, and he just couldn't even get a hard hit ball. And you talk about his physical nature behind the plate. It wore him down again in the second half. And I think that's a big thought pattern here with Bob Melvin and Buster Posey, now both catchers that played a lot. And it is a big question mark. And then you look at the backup with Sam Huff and Max Stassy, because both of them are going to get an opportunity here. And you know what? You really can't depend on either one of them at this point.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I follow Sam Huff a bit for different reasons, and anyway, and his bat plays. I mean, if you look at his home runs per AB, there's no issue there. He's got a lot of pop. I can't comment. I have no clue about his defense, and I'm sure Stassy's a better defender. But if Stassy, he hasn't played much over the last few years. He's older. The waiver wire that you mentioned may allow them to bring in still another catcher. Jorge Alfaro seems to float around a whole lot, and I think he's a pretty good defensive catcher and has a little bit of pop. But nevertheless, I mean, I think if you talk about working with somebody like Eldridge, there's probably guys working with Sam Huff, and I know Bruce Bochy made some really positive comments about Huff. It was a numbers game. They have the Cal graduate, you remember Jonah Heim up there, and he's a guy that they're
I don't know if you got to hear, Bruce. I had Sam Huff on last weekend, had a great conversation with him on just learning the catching position. He said, I learned a lot from Bruce Bochy. I'm learning a lot now from Bob Melvin, and he hasn't had a chance to talk to Posey, but when you got all three of those in a triangle talking catching, boy, I'm going to be all ears, and I'm not going to be talking much if I'm Sam Huff.
Yeah, we might be in a similar situation to Blake Sable. If you remember, he was a guy without a position, mostly a DH, a great guy, had a lot of pop, but he struggled as a catcher, and it wasn't his fault. Maybe Huff hasn't. I know he's played a lot of first base, but he came up as a catcher, and I'm optimistic. The last one I want to mention, I don't know if the name has come up yet today. I don't think it has, and this is more of a minor league question. That's Luciano. I'm curious to see, as you talked about Fitzgerald playing second base in the majors, I'm curious as to see, how Luciano will do in the outfield in, I assume, Sacramento, logically. I have some hope. I mean, I noticed in the one at-bat I saw this year, the video I saw, he showed incredible pop.
He does, highlights on that. And, I got Oscar Bernard coming on, Bruce, and we do talk about Luciano and Matos and Ramos because Oscar speaks fluent Spanish, and he really talks about approach. He talks about mindset, and we also talk about guys going up and down from AAA to the big leagues, especially young players, in trying to adjust to that. You and I talked about this last year. I remember this, Bruce, when Matos was hitting the hell out of the ball for the month of, I think it was April or May, maybe it was May, and then they put him at the leadoff position, and he went right down to cellar. And I brought that up with Oscar, and Oscar says you can't move players around if they've never batted in that position. And I think Bob Melvin just didn't have a leadoff hitter. And he just couldn't mindset being a leadoff hitter, and I really think that was a negative on Matos. He just couldn't, be that guy that take pitches. He's more of an aggressive hitter. Today, another couple good at-bats, and I really think he's going to play in the outfield this year.
No, I agree. And, speaking of leadoff hitters, if he can remain healthy, and that's always been a big if for Monway Jr.
I agree.
He doesn't have the speed. We know that, but that's okay. He's got one of the best eyes in baseball, and his on-base percentage is just off the charts. I think the third best in the league last year. So he'll give you some pop periodically, as he did a few years ago in the late-night Lamont scenario. But
health is going to be huge, no doubt about it, Bruce. But just getting back with Luciano real quick, Luciano was drafted as an outfielder. They were the ones that brought him in as a shortstop and second baseman.
I didn't know that.
and he played most of all his amateur in the outfield, and he played winter ball in the outfield. I just see him going down to Sacramento and playing every day in left field or right field, the corner positions. I just don't see him on the infield anymore. I really believe the Giants see him as a power hitter, a guy that come off the bench. He's still so young, and we're going to see how he plays daily in the outfield. I think he'll be fine.
No, he will. And you know, one of the things that close with this is that, you know, looking at all those arms in camp and the age of those kids and how little opportunity some of them, Roop and Birdsong, had to pitch in the minors last season. They were called up in emergencies. I'm real impressed. And you know, we all know the you know better than anybody probably the line about you can never have too much pitching. Well, you look in spring training every year, including this one. Look at the Mets. They've lost Minaya, and who's the other guy that they lost? Both with obliques. I'm trying to think
two
of the
starters, two starting pitchers, and both of them had a spot in that rotation.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. You know this, Bruce, and we all talk about you got to get through spring training without any injuries. That's why I think Elliot Ramos right now with that minor oblique injury, I think they're just pulling the brakes back saying, hey, we know what you can do. I still don't know if he played winter ball or not. I'd like to look into that. But at the same time, he's a big spark in this lineup, and there's no question the Giants want to make sure he's fully healthy before he plays.
You're right. And speaking of winter ball, finally, Matos, of course, was the MVP.
Oh, boy, he had a great winter.
Played in. Oh, God, amazing spring. And, you know, with him, I think it's just my worry is that if he has a bad stretch of 5-6 games of playing, he'll probably get pulled from the lineup. And I just don't know how easy it is on him mentally to handle that. Now, in the minors, I'm not talking about that, but if he were to be up here and Ramos is on the 11-day, 15-day, whatever it is, 10 days now, IL, then that might be different. You know, if he
opportunity always. You know, you always hear that. You hear it all the way back in football. Next man up, and it's the same thing in these positions with these young players. And I think Matos coming up last year, as well as Casey Schmidt. And you look at a lot of young players; they know what the big league level is now. They know what they have to adjust and they have to really work at. And that's a big, big plus with a lot of these young players getting opportunity last year. And we'll see how they go, though, Bruce. But great talking to you again. It's spring training. Got 3 weeks left to go till the 27th of March when it all opens. But I appreciate your time today, Bruce.
Same here. Take care, Bill.
All right, coming up next, I sit down with Oscar Bernard. He is the hitting coach the Giants picked up. But before I leave you, I don't know if you've heard the news. The San Francisco 49ers have traded Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick in the 2025 draft. News coming across the board. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Lasky. I'm honored to have my guest on today, one of the new hitting coaches that Bob Melvin has hired for the upcoming season. Let's welcome in Oscar Bernard. Oscar, how are you today?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fantastic.
Well, it's been great to add you on with Pat Burrell and Damon Miner. How are the trifecta hitting coaches doing so far this spring?
Well, so far, so good. I can tell a lot of good things about those two guys. They welcome me with an open arm, and I think we're gonna do a good job.
Well, let's go back in the last 7 years. The last 7 years you've been with the San Diego Padres as a hitting coach, as a hitting coordinator. You also spent a year with Bob Melvin at the big league level with Scott Coolbaugh. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Bob Melvin.
I think it started 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Bud and I, we crossed paths in the whole way. I know he was the big league man. I was the hitting coordinator. We started interacting in the gym and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I got the opportunity to be part of his staff. I think it was a great experience working with Bud and his crew. And once again, they allow me to coach and be myself. I think the relationship keep growing.
Oscar, one of the things that you bring to this hitting coach is you speak Spanish fluently. Several players that do speak Spanish had a difficult time last year with no speaking Spanish coaches, especially in the hitting realm. How has that been going on with especially Luis Matos and Marco Luciano, a couple of young upcoming stars? How have you gotten connection with them so far this spring?
Yes. I believe it has been great. I've been helping Pat to get the message across to those speaking Spanish guys, and they understand from day one what we're all about. And I think the communication has been pretty clear in Pat's message, and they understand what we're trying to accomplish, especially when I'm in charge to translate the message to those guys. And I think they understand.
One of the things, Oscar, that these hitting coaches are trying to do is cut out the strikeouts. It's a hard thing at the big league level. You have been seeing it at the big league level as well as at minor league level. What are some of the philosophies that you guys are trying to do with these hitters that put the ball in play?
I think Pat present to us a great idea, a great plan, and I'm all in with. And we all in and control the strike zone and shore him up your swing. And move the ball forward. And so far, we're working on it. We're going to keep pushing our guys to understand our philosophy, and they know what we're all about. And I think the plan we have from day one is like trying to put those players in position where they can do damage, and most important thing, cut the strikeout and build that mentality going forward for the season.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning postgame show is one of the new hitting coaches, Oscar Bernard. Oscar, I looked into your professional career, and I see at one time you were trying to get on that mound and pitch. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was like former catcher with good arm, and by the way, that was the only tool I had. And back in the day, there was like a fever. Like catchers became a pitcher, and they reached the big league quick because the ability to throw hard. But I was one of those growing up with Chicago Cubs. I don't know if you heard about Carlos Marmol, which was a catcher, and he was a converting pitcher and made it. So, and it was a good experience. I tried. I threw hard. I couldn't throw strike, by the way, but it wasn't for me. But I'd give it a shot. That was good experience too.
Well, after a few years in the minor leagues, you jumped in to be a hitting coach. You were a hitting coach with the Chicago Cubs, the Texas Rangers, and, of course, I had mentioned the San Diego Padres. What were some of the early parts of being a hitting coach? What were some of the trials and tribulations to try to teach hitting at a young age?
Well, number one is like a connection. I think we, as a coach, we have to connect with the individual. We're trying to speak the same language those guys speaking now, and I can go in depth on that language. But now it's like a little bit easier to connect, but at the same time, we face some obstacle to get our message across, especially with those younger guys in the minor league. And to me, it was like complete full journey. Like we have to break down simple language and for those guys to understand and to me was the path to do the right thing. I gotta go to the principal, teach our guy the control the strike zone and simple move, and try to keep it simple for those guys, for them to understand what's hitting, because this is no easy thing to do, and and the people know out there, there's no easy thing to do.
Oh, no doubt about it. And that comes with the highs and lows of being a good hitter, a struggling hitter, a hitter that's in a rut. Those are all things that you have to become a psychologist with. You have to try to teach them the adjustments of doing good and staying on a level keel. How do you do that, especially with young players like we just talked about, Luciano and Matos? Two very good hitters, but they're also young in their mind.
I think you use a good word, is a psychology. And I think our end, in this level, you have to be part of psychology, part of parent, and part of hitting coach. Because 90% of the conversation we have with those guys is about mental approach. It's more what do you want to do instead of breaking down mechanic and stuff like that. And in big league level, mechanic is more on the side. It's all about mental and mental preparation, and it's all about that. Like you say, being psychology, being there for those guys, letting know those guys, we're here for you. No matter what you do, you can go 4-4, we're gonna be there. 4-4, we're gonna be there. But like you say, the part of like supporting those guys when they go wrong. To me, that's the more important part. Like when they go wrong, when they go bad, let them know we're here for you.
Oscar, a player that really came up very strong last year, made the National League All-Star team, and Elliot Ramos, a guy that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. The second half numbers didn't fare like the first half. When we talk about adjustments, we're talking about a whole year, 162 games. It's a long stretch. There's a lot of hitters that get hot, and then they don't. How do you get that out of them? How do you change that approach? You know, when they're hot so far, like I said, Elliot, the first half and the second half, it just didn't work out. Those are hard things to try to turn around.
Yes, but something we've been talking with Ramos as a group is like, oh, you did good, but the league going to make adjustment on you. It's time for you to make adjustment. And we've been talking about control the strike zone once again. And, you know, as a younger hitter in the big league, he did good, and we try to put those guys to be consistent and daily basis. This is about principle. It's about in the spring training we plant the seed, and that seed going to grow throughout the season. It's like just control the strike zone, do what you can do, and look out for a pitcher you can drive. And he knows the league going to make adjustment. And we've been talking to him like we have to make adjustment in ourselves too. So we cannot go out there and hoping we're going to do the same thing as we did last year, because the league going to figure it out. And, you've been in this a long time. The league going to figure you out.
Oscar, when you look at Elliot Ramos, a mentor, when you look at Marco Luciano for sure and Luis Matos, and you get them in that corner and they start talking hitting and you're right in there fluent Spanish, what are some of the concerns moving into the 2025 season with these young hitters?
I think already I can relate with Luis Matos, like just trying to do too much, just trying to telling him to keep it simple and keep going forward, because he's such a good hitter, good eye-hand coordination. So to me, my job is just remind those guys how good they are and why they are in the big league, and they're there for a reason. So in my end is just remind those guys, like, okay, we're going to talk about mechanic or we're going to talk about approach. During the game, to me, it's like more approach-driven than mechanic. And like I say, keep reminding those guys they're good instead of focusing in the outcome of the at-bat, which that's what we want. But at the end of the day, it's baseball.
A couple more questions with Oscar Bernard. Of course, he is one of the new hitting coaches along with Damon Minor and, of course, Pat Burrell from last year. Let's go away from baseball. You are in baseball 12 hours, 14 hours a day. How do you escape it? What do you like to do once you get away from the ballpark?
Well, I got family, but I love to, one of the hobbies, I love to work out. I love to take care of my body. I love to stay healthy, if you will. But this is what I do. Like, I'm trying to get super early at the facility, work out, and eat something and go to the cages. And this is something I love to do. But answer your question, I love to work out. Sometimes I go away and this is my 2 hours of decompress from baseball.
And you pound those weights, huh? You want to stay in shape. That's the good thing. What about food? What's your favorite food? What do you like to go to? If you got to go out to dinner and say, hey, I had a good day today, I'm going in for this. What is it?
That's an easy question. A steak is all day.
All right.
Steak, no matter medium rare, that's my go-to. Yeah.
Last one for you. Are you a Latin lover in music, or do you listen to all kind of music?
I'm a little bit different. I like country, old country, and but of course I'm Latin. I like salsa and stuff like that. But I really like country. When I came long time ago to this country, I fell in love with the country music, the slow, and the message behind the lyric. Very intriguing, and I kind of follow, and I like it. I don't mind.
No, I tell you one thing, Oscar. I know a lot of players. Now, can you dance that salsa? Can you get out there and boogie with the rest of them?
No, really, not really. Sounds weird, but I'm not good at dancing. I can listen, but I'm not good at dancing.
Well, listen, Oscar, it was great having you on. Giants fans are going to get to know you and love you, and let's get this hitting going this year and get some runs scored, and let's see what the Giants can do in the 2025 season.
Definitely. We're going to have a good group, and we're going to surprise people out there. I think the group is united. The group is like they know what they can do, and we're going to show up to play every day. We're going to let people what we're all about.
Well, thank you for your time, Oscar Bernard.
No problem. Thank you, Bill.
Oscar Bernard on Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Here's a swing and a liner into right center field. Base hit. VR jumping on the first pitch and getting an RBI single into the gap in right center, with Teoscar Hernandez over to cut it off and hold him to a single. But Schmidt scores easily from second, and the Giants are back ahead 3-2.
All right, back on Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Lasky. The Giants lose in Glendale, Arizona today to the LA Dodgers 6-5. 6 runs, 7 hits for the LA Dodgers. The Giants had 5 runs, 9 hits. Of course, the Dodgers had 3 home runs, all solo home runs. Kim from Korea hit a home run off Mason Black. Freddie Freeman hit a bomb out to right center field. And Aaron Bracco, he was the game winner, a left-hand young kid coming out, and he hit a home run in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Dodgers win 6-5. Of course, the hot news today in San Francisco, the San Francisco 49ers have traded Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick. Of course, it could be the 2025 draft. We don't know exactly, but Deebo Samuel is now traded to the Washington Commanders. Let's go back into this game a little bit. The Giants lose 6-5 in the first inning. Jung-Hoo Lee got a nice double to bring in Grant McCray for the first run the Giants scored. And then in the third inning, a young kid, Christian Koss, 26 years, he's played in AAA. Backup shortstop, played really well today on the defensive side. Led off the inning with a double, and Luis Matos had a nice RBI to base hit into right center field, scoring the second run for the San Francisco Giants. In the sixth inning, Casey Smith led off with a nice double into left center field, and that highlight that came in right as we were coming in was David VR hitting a nice first pitch he saw into right center field for a base hit. David VR is out of options, so the Giants are going to have to make a decision on what they want to do with David VR in the next few weeks in spring training. Of course, the big bomb today came off of Encarnacion, hit a 2-run home run in the seventh inning, 113 miles per hour off his bat. He hit a changeup, a 1-1 changeup, straight away 410 feet. On the pitching side, Carson Seymour really threw the ball extremely well. Of course, Carson did most of his pitching in AAA last year, had 28 starts, had a 4.8 earned run average, 134 in the third innings, 151 hits. But on the other side, 130 strikeouts. Really commanded the zone extremely well today. 6 up, 6 down, all ground ball outs. 20 pitches, 13 for strikes. Tristan Beck followed him up with 1 hit and a walk, gave up a run. Mason Black trying to figure out where he's going to fit, if he's going to fit in this major league roster, or is he going to start back in AAA. He threw 2 innings, 29 pitches, 18 for strikes. He ended up giving up that home run to Kim. Trevor McDonald struggled out there today. He tried to go 2 innings, couldn't make it. He went in an inning and a third, threw 35 pitches, only 15 of them for strikes. He struggled giving up 3 earned runs. Joey Lucchesi is the left-hand pitcher that's trying to make the team. He pitched with the Mets and the Padres. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving up a hit. Came in with bases loaded with only 1 out, punched out the lefty, and he went 0-2 on DePaula, a pinch hitter, and he left it up, and DePaula hit a base hit to left field. But I thought he really pitched well. Joey really is trying to make it, coming off some arm injuries. And then Justin Garza was the one that finished up. He ended up giving up the home run in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Dodgers end up winning the game 6-5. The Giants now are 4-3 on spring training in the Cactus League. The Dodgers are 4-6. Tomorrow, the Giants entertain the L.A. Angels. They come into Scottsdale. Jose Soriano, a right-hander, 26 years old. He started 22 games for the Angels last year, 3.4 earned run average. Robbie Ray will get his second start tomorrow. Threw the ball real well, 2 innings, a couple punch-outs last time. Duvall will follow him up. Rogers will follow him up. And Trevino, of course, you remember him with the Oakland A's, will also get a shot tomorrow. And you can hear that right here at KNBR at 12:05. Javi Lopez is in the booth. He was on with John Miller today, a great combination. And MLB Network ended up putting a game on. It was pretty cool to watch the Giants take on the Dodgers in Glendale. Coming up next, I ended up sitting down with Max Stassy. Max Stassy, of course, started his career. He got drafted by the Oakland A's in 2009 and ended up going to get traded. He was traded over to the Houston Astros in 2013 and then again traded over to the LA Angels in 2019. He was there for 3 years, really took off with the Angels. And I had a nice sit-down conversation with him about what he's going to do. He's 33 years old, coming in after a couple injuries with the Angels, and is trying to fit in this backup role. Of course, Tom Murphy has been injured. He's getting a second look on injury on his lower back. And, of course, the other catcher who's trying to make this team is Sam Huff. Sam Huff came over in waivers from the Texas Rangers. So coming up next, sit back. I have a nice conversation with Max Stassy. Of course, everybody's going to know him. He's been up and down, of course, from Yuba City up in Sacramento. All right, coming up next, Max Stassy right here on Extra Innings. And we'll be right back here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Lasky. My guest today has big league experience with the Houston Astros and the LA Angels. He's now wearing the black and orange. I'm very excited to talk to my guest, Max Stassy. Max, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's great you're in camp, a veteran leader behind the plate. Of course, a lot of new pitchers and some old ones that you've known through your time in the American League. Tell me how it's going so far.
It's going great. Yeah, just getting to know these guys and, a lot of new faces and a bunch of guys that I've played against. So it's good to be on the same side as them. I've seen, a guy like Matt Chapman for years, playing in Oakland. I was teammates with Verlander and then, seeing him on the other side in Houston when I went to Anaheim. But, it's great to be in the black and orange.
Well, let's get the Giants fans to know you a little bit. You grew up in Northern California, Yuba City. Of course, that's out in Sacramento Valley. How was it growing up there, a small town? And who did you root for, Giants or A's?
Yeah, so in Yuba City, it's pretty evenly split. I mean, you got the Giants and A's, and I grew up watching both, with the Giants, back in the Bonds era. Rich Aurelia, Ray Durham, and then, when I was coming up kind of in high school, it was the Buster Posies of the world, Lincecum, Crawford, all of those guys. And then, with Oakland, watching all of them have the success on the East Bay, with Mark Ellis and, Kotze was there and Miguel Tejada. So, yeah, really familiar with both sides and rooted both teams on.
Oh, boy, some great names right there and some great players. Of course, you're going to meet a few of them through spring training. But, when I reached out and looked at you, I saw a lot of experience behind the plate from your father, your great-grandfather, and some of the knowledge that you have accepted from them and learned from them. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so my grandpa, he was a catcher. He played professionally. He was in the minor leagues for a few years, and then my dad, he was also a catcher. He was actually drafted by the Giants and, made it up to Phoenix in AAA at the time with them. And then my great-great-uncle, Merle Hogue, he actually played with Babe Ruth back in the 30s. So, yeah, we've got a long list of catchers in the family. And my brothers, they're both left-handed, so I was the only righty, so somebody had to catch them, and that was my job.
Well, let's go into the professional baseball side of Max Stassy. Of course, you were drafted by the Oakland A's. You ended up going to big league camp. Bob Melvin wasn't there your first year, but he got to see you in 2012. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Bob Melvin.
Yeah, it was over 10 years ago now, but I was just a young pup in camp, and at that age, I was just up there, to learn from those guys, see the guys like Kurt Suzuki and Josh Donaldson, at the time before he switched to third base, get their work in and just pick their brains. But, I got to know Bob a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, I've never heard one guy say a bad thing about Bob Melvin that's played for him. And talking with guys with different backgrounds and different points of their career, everyone just loves him, and it's come full circle, and I couldn't be more excited to play for him this spring.
Well, Max, like I said, you got drafted by the Oakland A's. You got traded to the Houston Astros, and I was reading about your first couple of games in the big leagues, and I think fans need to understand this. It was good luck, bad luck the first two games. Of course, the first game, you end up getting a couple hits. The second game, you get beamed in the face, and you went down hard. How difficult was that as a young person trying to make the big leagues, a player that now has reached a major league level? Tell me a little bit the highs and lows of those first couple games.
Yeah, so getting called up in 2013, as you've heard a million times, it's a whirlwind. And, I got called up from Double-A and then debuted against the Rangers there in Arlington. And, a couple knocks the first game, the second game. bases loaded, and the hitter before me, Matt Dominguez, he got hit kind of in the upper arm. He's a little taller than me, so I was going into that next at bat waiting for a slider, and it was a fastball coming right at my face, and hit me in my face, and I was out for about 6 weeks with a concussion, but thank God I was able to overcome that, and came out and just prepared for the next season. After that, time was running out. It was the tail end of the year.
Well, you always talk about first. You get your first 2 hits, and you get your first RBI by getting beaned with bases loaded. How about that?
Yeah. I think the ball had a little blood on it. I'm not sure exactly, but it's got a little blood on it. So first RBI hit in the face.
Well, you ended up moving into the Los Angeles Angels and really, really competed well at the level with the Angels. Had a nice 3-year contract. You really felt comfortable with the Angels. Tell me a little bit about that move, and how was it coming over back to California?
Yeah. From day one, they were just unbelievable at getting me familiar with the staff, and the people over there were so great, and they took really, really good care of me. And I had a great run there. Played with a good list of Hall of Famers, potential Hall of Famers. Mike Trout, Ohtani, Pujols, Justin Upton, playing with him, just unbelievable guys. And I was very comfortable there. And coming back on the West Coast, it was great. It was easy flight for my family to come down south, and who doesn't like Orange County, right? Like it's one of the most beautiful places in the world.
That voice you hear on X-Ring postgame show is Max Stassy, a veteran catcher trying to fulfill a spot on the 40-man roster. You come in as a non-roster catcher. Again, injuries have plagued you numerous times in your career. How healthy are you, and how's the mindset moving into spring training this year?
Yeah, I feel really good. I had left hip surgery last year, so I missed the entire season. And a lot of time to rehab, spending time with the family, and with the time away, I realized how much I missed, being around the guys. I've always really, really enjoyed, being in the clubhouse and competing out there. But, when you're fully, removed from the game and an organization, you really have a lot of time to reflect on things. And I couldn't be happier, like I said earlier, to be a part of this organization.
Well, Max, you've been in the big leagues for many years. Spring training is an open mind, learning new pitchers, learning new sequences. Of course, coming into a new organization, a lot of young arms out there, and a lot of them can bring it. What have you seen so far in some of the arms, and who's impressed you the most?
Hayden Birdsong, he's been really, really sharp this spring. He's working on some command things, but as far as the total package, just the presence he has for a kid his age is pretty impressive. He's definitely impressed me. There's a ton of guys here. I could go on and on, but I think he's got a very bright future.
Max, I always talk about the one knee for a catcher instead of the crouch. How do you feel about it? Have you changed? And what is the benefit of it? And what are some of the old school thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think it's the main thing is it improves your decision-making time. A lot of people think that, you just go down there on one knee and you just kind of plop back there and try to receive everything. And that's definitely not the case. Our catching coach, Alex Berg, who does an unbelievable job and has helped me transition to the one knee catching full time. And it takes a little bit to learn kind of the nuance and the timing of when to go on one knee or which knee to go on. But, becoming very comfortable with that. And, as you see around the game, I think there's only a few guys left that are catching the traditional way. And I think that shows you something that all these organizations, are definitely believing in the benefits of going on one knee.
Well, watching Buster Posey throughout his career, as I did, I always wondered if he was going to change it, and it sounds like they're still doing the one knee because talking to him, he didn't like it. Maybe he's bought into it.
Yeah, I think, at the tail end of his career, it was pretty new, and, a guy like him that's had, maybe the most success out of any catcher to ever play this game, I'm not sure I would change a whole lot either, but I think it's definitely changed a little bit since his last years, but
Couple more minutes with Max Stassy on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. We got to talk offense. Of course, offensive numbers, over 40 home runs in your big league career. What are you working on, and what are some of the things that you need to advance on the offensive side?
Yeah, for me, it's just limiting the strikeouts, putting the ball forward and, just taking what the pitcher gives me. That's basically what I'm working on right now. And, shorten up my swing, seeing some velo, with missing last year, not seeing any live arms, seeing different shapes on breaking balls and change-ups and all of that. So, just putting the ball forward, I would say. When you put it in play, typically good things happen.
Max, we both played the big leagues. I was a pitcher, you were a catcher. Battery mates are so important. What are some of the things that you're trying to advance on with the knowledge of your pitchers and how comfortable you can get them to grasp on what you want to do?
Yeah, I think the big thing is just being available and just talking with them. It doesn't necessarily have to be about pitching all the time, and just getting to know guys, getting comfortable with them, asking where they're from, and yeah, just kind of the small talk, and then it kind of picks up from there. And, I kind of initially, I like to kind of sit back a little bit and see how they work, see how their routine is, their bullpens, where's their focus at, and, come with my opinions a little later. I think that's really important, just to make sure that we're on the same page, and that way he knows that I work for him. And, I'll do whatever's best for that pitcher.
Max, last one for you. It's so difficult to turn off baseball when you get out of the uniform and you go home. What's a hobby for you? What is it? What do you have to do to relax? Some of the things you like to do.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're right. I don't have too many hobbies. Yeah, I love this game. I love everything about it. So I'm usually doing, some baseball, but I love to golf. My brothers and I and Dad, we all love to golf. So getting on the golf course with them, yeah, you can't beat that. 4 or 5 hours out on the course, and you're still able to compete and have some fun.
Max Stassy, it was a pleasure getting to know you a little bit. The orange and black are waiting for you. All the best for spring training, and good luck, my friend.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that was Max Stassy on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Lasky.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Lasky as we finish up a Saturday. The Giants lose earlier in the day in Glendale, Arizona to the LA Dodgers 6-5. 6 runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. 5 runs, 9 hits for the Giants. Encarnacion hit a home run to straightaway center field as the only home run ball, but a couple RBIs, one by Schmidt, one by Jung-Hoo Lee, but the Giants fall short. Tomorrow, 12:05, the Giants will be entertaining the LA Angels at Scottsdale Stadium. Robbie Ray on the hill for the Giants. You can hear the first pitch right here at 12:05 with John Miller and Javi Lopez in the broadcast booth. I'd like to thank my guests today, Max Stassy and Oscar Bernard. If you didn't hear those interviews, you can hear them on the KNBR All podcast. Also, I'd like to thank Ryan McCarthy and Kyle Haar producing the show today. And as well, Giants fans, I'll be right back in here tomorrow doing the Extra Inning Postgame Show right after the ball game in Scottsdale. For Bill Lasky, have a